Take 3.
Hello everyone, it's good to see you again. We have a nutritious new video for you today.
Today we're going to be talking about photography, and more specifically, this video is going to be for beginners, people who maybe just got their first camera and are looking to improve their skills. This is also something for the pros, to reminisce and be like, oh yeah, I remember when someone told me not to do that. Becoming a better photographer is all about that learning curve. You need to make mistakes to be able to grow, and these are the most important ones that we've found for you.
So here are the top mistakes that you should be making as a beginner photographer.
Let's go! So the first thing that people tell beginner photographers not to do is shoot around midday.
Oh, don't shoot at midday, shadows will be terrible.
What have we said about mocking professional photographers? Don't do it. When the sun is at its highest point, it will cast really nasty shadows and actually be really unflattering for the subject.
That may be true, but if you're shooting a wedding and a couple is getting married at 12 or 1 p.m, you're not going to tell them to rearrange their ceremony, so you need to have the skill set to take good photographs with direct sunlight. And the best way to learn how to deal with these situations is to practice in these conditions. So as much as everyone's telling you not to go out at midday and shoot in that harsh light, we recommend getting out 12 o'clock sharp and getting your camera ready. Best of luck!
So tip number 2, that's definitely 4. Mistake number 2 is relying on automatic settings.
You have to have control over your settings and over your image in order to really take those next level images, and auto is just not going to provide that for you.
But hold your horses. As a beginner photographer, aperture, shutter, ISO, white balance, it can all get very overwhelming. What we would actually recommend doing is actually choosing a semi-automatic mode.
Semi-automatic modes give you control over just one setting while taking care of the rest. This will allow you to focus in on one area of photography at a time, whether it be shutter speed, ISO, aperture. You might not be the most technically minded person, so the settings might not come easily to you, but you might have a real eye for colour or composition.
Don't force yourself to go fully manual as a beginner photographer. Give yourself some time to learn the ropes.
Bob on. You can shoot too many photos. This will quickly fill up your cards, make your editing process an absolute nightmare.
But it's also just quite sloppy not to think before shooting. It's actually composing it and thinking about what is the photo that you want to get, rather than just, exactly as it says, spraying and praying.
It's just the same on Call of Duty. You've got to aim in first and then fire. However, we live in an age of digital cameras where you do have that luxury of being able to shoot multiple frames. So it would be rude not to.
You don't have to get everything perfect in one take.
As a beginner, there's nothing more a good thing than getting home, firing up your computer and seeing that your photo is not sharp, or something's just off, or your model's eyes are closed. It's devastating. But if you'd just shot off 3 or 4, her eyes would have been open again and she looks like an absolute goddess. Bam, win.
Ding ding. Roll it again.
More often, it's better to have 5 eggs in your basket than 1. For example, I was once shooting a wedding on a Sigma Art 35mm, notoriously unreliable for focusing. Now the first kiss comes around, bam 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 bam, fire off some shots. I think I shot 10 photographs and only 1 was in focus. Now imagine what would have happened if I'd shot 1, 2, maybe even just 3 frames. Devastating.
Culling is also a very important skill. So think about your composition, think about your framing, but then don't be scared to use that shutter button. So you're often told as a beginner photographer, buy cheap, buy twice. Don't buy cheap equipment because it will break on you, it'll be naff.
This is all well and good if you have a gold mine in your backyard.
The reality is, a beginner photographer is likely not going to be making much money from photography.
So they need to keep on a budget, and that can't stop you from trying out new techniques and new areas of photography. And one example of this is tripods. You can get a tripod for like £25 and you can get a tripod for like £500 or £1,000. At the end of the day, if you want to do something like long exposure photography or astro night photography, that £30 tripod is going to allow you to try that and give it a really good go.
Don't get us wrong, it will be naff and you will hate it with all of your being, but a naff tripod is better than no tripod at all.
No deal is better than a bad deal.
Also, when it comes to buying cheap or knockoff equipment, it can actually be a gold mine. There are several things that we've actually cheaped out on that we've really enjoyed using.
There are literally some bargains out there. One I can think of off the top of my head is the Samyang lens range. If you're not that bothered about autofocus, so for example for landscape or night astrophotography, these lenses are so much cheaper than the Canon or even third-party like Sigma Tamron equivalents, but their optics are absolutely incredible. I owned the 14mm f2.8 and it was absolutely brilliant. Let us know if you do want to see a video on absolute budge equipment, because we are the kings of working on a budget and making do with literally what we've got. I say this as this light right here is diffused with Sal's white dress. You may feel discouraged from using presets at the beginning of your photography journey. Did you edit this photo with a preset? Using presets can make you lazy in post-processing and can be very limiting when it comes to your own creativity. When you kind of become set on a certain look or a certain preset, this can be very detrimental to your photography progression.
So you can just skip straight to the outcome without learning any of the tools that you need in Lightroom, for example.
However, on the other hand, sometimes presets are a great way to give you inspiration or to quickly test out a whole range of looks or styles on an image to see what might work. The difference between presets and something like filters on Instagram is when you're editing raw photographs and you fire up a preset on your photo, you can actually go through all of the settings and see exactly what's been tweaked. This is a very useful learning process. You can see how certain effects were achieved and therefore deconstruct or kind of reverse engineer a certain style or look.
Don't do it!
When you're thinking about taking your photography a little bit more seriously and potentially making a little bit of money from it, the first thing you'll hear from the pros is do not work for free.
Just don't do it!
This is because your time and your work obviously has value, and to work for free is diminishing that. And secondly, you won't be able to develop your business if you're not investing in it.
Exposure does not pay those bills. So largely this has merit, but you're not here for those mistakes. You want to hear why you should be doing this. And the reason is many-fold.
As a beginner photographer, when you don't have a wealth of experience and a humongous portfolio to show, there is much more value that you can get out of a job other than money. For example, you could take some photographs for your local barber in exchange for a haircut.
Why are you winking?
Because it's something that I've done. It's like,
yeah, but we don't. That's saying like, we have a barber shop, come and work for free for us and we'll give you a free haircut. But there are also things that you can gain aside from that, such as a relationship with a potential client in the future, which can lead to way more money in the distant future. And creating a portfolio is so important for photographers.
To give you a worked example, if you're out shooting for your local cafe, you may be connecting with a local business person, so you're gaining contacts that you may potentially use in the future. You're building your portfolio, so you've got images to show a potential future client, and potentially getting some free coffee out of it.
And gaining experience.
When you bundle that up together, that's worth a lot more than say 20 quid that you would have been paid as an inexperienced photographer. More often than not, business people or small business owners are far less willing to part with cash than they are to exchange some services or their product with you. So there's always a workaround, and where there's a will, there's a way.
Once you've got a bit more confidence and you've got the skills to back it up, if there's someone you really want to bag as a client, it's a great idea if, for example, you would invest in their products, maybe something that you already love.
That you wanted anyway, yeah.
Take photos of them, show them what you can do. In essence, that's working for free, but you've proven to them that you believe in their product, you're willing to put in the work, and therefore you are much more likely to bag that client compared to someone who's just sent across a price list. There are many benefits to working for free.
But remember, exposure does not pay the bills. Next time you're planning a photo shoot, make sure it's at midday with an extremely wobbly tripod. Do it completely for free.
Buy all the presets.
Edit it only with presets. Best of luck, and on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end.
Good night.
Good night.
No.
The best way to learn is from trying things out yourself and getting your own experiences behind the camera.
There's no better way to learn than making mistakes. Whereas if you're just doing it because someone on the internet has told you to, it's not as likely to stick in there, and it could actually mean that you make that mistake further down the line as a professional, and it could be much more painful. So it's important as a beginner photographer to just give it a go, make the mistakes, enjoy the process.
At the end of the day, at the beginning of your photography journey, you are going to feel like a panini head.
An idiot sandwich.
Panini head.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
Is don't be afraid to make the mistakes. They will make you a better photographer in the long run.
Everything that's good takes time.
Like vino.
We're Trio Stories, and this has been the mistakes you should make as a photographer beginning in your career.
Hurrah!
Thanks so much for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you here as always. Like and subscribe.
All the best.
Smart. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.